Anecdotes for success. Level up with truth, meaning, trade-offs, perspective.
All right, Matt. I know we've both had crazy busy weeks. We won't bore the viewers with that, but we got to stay consistent, get this episode in. The funny thing is, we had a phone call last week where we ranted and raved for about a half hour, and we're like, this would have been a good episode. Let's talk about this next time we're on the podcast. And all day we've been back and forth texting. We can't remember what it was we talked about.
No, which is sad because I felt like it was going to be such a good topic. But you just said a moment ago, was it something about taking action? And I'm not sure it was, and I'm not sure it wasn't either. I can't say that was or wasn't, because that would definitely be something we would talk about.
You can't confirm nor deny that.
No, I cannot. But I think that regardless, that topic in itself is one that we really should discuss to some degree. And I, you know what, the more I think about it, the more I think it might have been that. But the problem that I see, or the thing that happens all the time that I see, is here's what I hear all the time, Paul. And I believe these people, but I hear, I had that idea, or all that property, I just saw someone bought it, and now they're renting it out, making a bunch of money on it or something. I told my wife or my husband that we should do that. It's always this like hindsight. I had this idea, it made sense, and now someone's doing it, using it, whatever the case may be. And there's almost this like gratification that I hear in people, like, look how right I was. And the question is, well, why the heck didn't you do anything, right? And
yeah, so they actually feel like they succeeded because someone else did the idea they should have done.
yes, but they get the benefit of knowing or thinking, wow, I nailed another one, right? Without any of the risk, without any of the action that is actually required. Because the fact of the matter is, I could drive up and down any road in the United States and I could find properties that would cash flow and be of good value and be good investments. The finding of the idea of that or many other things is so elementary to me. That's not where the value lies. The value is in the action. The value is in the, what, we could do this. Let's go make an offer. Let's work with a bank. Let's make the purchase. Let's fix it up, or then let's do the work to rent it out. Do the work to run the numbers. There's the story that, look how right I was. It's just such an empty story to me. But I think that's it. It's like I get to justify my entrepreneurial prowess without any of the risk, and sadly, none of the benefit either.
Yeah, same story as the people that, pick sports games and don't have any skin in it or wager on it. Ironically, those same people are just as excited when you don't fail. Or I mean, when you fail. Oh, I told you that wouldn't work. Okay, well, you're still at step zero. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I was listening to Gary on that topic. I was looking, Gary V. I saw a video of his, and he's a great content creator. He really is. He's fantastic. Well, one of the things he was talking about that hit home with me was, he said, forget his term, exact wording, but it was basically, entrepreneurship is a contact sport. Something that he goes, you're not doing it without some failures. You're not coming out without a bloody lip or a bloody nose, or figuratively speaking, of course, although I'm sure the physical ones that are there too at times. But you don't get nobody. He was saying this: nobody's undefeated as an entrepreneur. Like, everyone gets hurt, everyone gets knocked down, and I mean he's a highly successful one, as you know. But that's true, and therein lies the problem, right? Nobody wants to risks of failure. Nobody wants to risk the consequences of that failure, because sometimes obviously can be emotional. But the emotional part of it's kind of nothing compared to the financial part in some ways. So there's a lot of potential downside to it. And since everyone gets bloodied and bruised along the way to some degree, the chances are that's going to happen to you. I know it's happened to me. So boy, it's a lot nicer to sit on my couch and drive around with my spouse and tell them all the great ideas I can point out. And then when someone's doing it, I can say how I knew it. But and that is 95, 7, 8% of people. And it always will be.
You're spot on. And I love Gary Vee. One thing I show my students like once a month is he has a content piece where he's like, you literally won the bleeping lottery of life for being born. And if you're born in America, that's like such a small percentage of humans in the history of the world. And what do people do? They just watch it waste away, whether it's on their app. They're spectators, I guess, instead of players. And I started later. I just don't know why people don't pursue more and take action. And I think it was take action. That seems to be what we're talking about.
Yeah. I think it must have been too. I really think it was too.
So how do you get somebody like 98%? I mean, you're so busy. Like if you're so busy building your life, you don't have time to help other people. But there's still a meaning and a purpose when you do get to help people. I mean, to me, that's what it's all about, the whole servant leadership. So it gets frustrating for me when I watch people spectate and criticize me. How do you get them to participate?
I know it's a great question. In fact, it's difficult because we're all, as humans, I think it's biological. We are created to try to be safe, right? Because I don't want to, I don't want to lose my life. I don't want to lose my livelihood. I don't want to lose, that's so the best way to do that for many people is just be conservative and be safe. I don't mean conservative from a political standpoint. I mean it from a risk tolerance standpoint. And but the problem with that is that's not what we dream about, right? That's not how we're like, that's not where the meaning comes from. That's not where the adventure comes from. So there's a couple issues here. There's that we're wired that way, and you got to overcome that, especially if you want to pursue your dreams. There's also this fear of what other people think, right? Well, what will people think if I fail? And we've talked about that in the past a little bit, but that cripples people so much. And then there's the biggest crippler, in my opinion, which is the one where you're comfortable. And that's the one that I think is the biggest danger to people. They have this level of comfort. I can pay the bills and go to vacation once a year, and I've got a 401k or my pension, or although that word's gonna go extinct here soon, pension. I am just comfortable, and if I'm comfortable, my desire to take risks is dissipated because what's the upside isn't worth the downside in some people's minds.
Right.
In most people's minds, and now I don't agree with them, but and then then my personal experience, there you are, and they're 50 or 55 or 45 or whatever the number is, and I get this, my God, wasn't there more to this whole journey than where I'm at? Oftentimes my kids are grown now and gone, and all that time and energy and effort that I put into that really was wonderful and amazing. And it's not a negative by any means, but it was a good distraction for 18 years or 20 years or whatever the number was. It was a good distraction. And now, oh man, who am I? What is there? I hear it and see it often, and but I think it's a variety of things. What do you think?
Well, I want to go back to, you said the upside isn't worth the downside. It's funny because I think the opposite, like the upside's everything. There's no downside to trying, to taking action, to pursuing. I mean, I guess there could be a loss financially or time.
Yeah.
Technically, I mean, you could probably go into a relationship maybe, depending on what you're pursuing. But then you know what? If those things are downsides, then I don't know if those things are downsides, then you don't have the right support staff to pursue what you want to do anyways. Like those aren't really downside, those are excuses.
Hmm.
There's no downside to living your life and pursuing what you want to do. Failure's not a downside, failure's a lesson, right? If you lose some money, that's not a downside. That's, well, what could I do better next time? So I rambled a little bit, but I think you see the point
No,
I'm
you
trying
didn't.
to
No,
make.
I think that's the point. I think it's how you view it, right? If your view is, well, it didn't work the way I wanted to, therefore it was a loss of money or loss of time, and that's all you got out of it. You didn't learn anything from it. I suppose that would be a way to look at it. I don't think most people who succeed in these areas in anything. I mean, I don't care who you are. If you're successful and maybe you're the best vet in the world, you had to take some risks, I'm sure. Um, and lose in some ways, and whether it's time or money or whatever the case may be. But you don't get anywhere without taking these risks. You don't get you don't get the joy of the adventure. And I read every morning. There's I think it was a book you turned me on to, the Daily Stoic, right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So I read that every morning, and so much of that hits home with me, and people should read that. It's one day, one page, and it's based on the day of the calendar day, and so much of that resonates with me about, and believe it has nothing to do with finances, right? It's not a financial book by any means, but it resonates in terms of how people live their lives in this risk averse, in this one of the things that was either today or yesterday was talking about people sitting on the sidelines, basically watching other people live their lives as a spectator, not realizing that they have one life. They have literally, you have one life. I mean, unless you believe in other things, which I don't know to be true or not true. I don't think that's the way to look at it. And as far as I know, we have one life. Let me put it that way. And if you have one life and you look at your life as that, like this is it. This is it. I'm Next year I'll be a year older and a year closer to being gone. When you look at it from that point of view, I don't know how you sit on the couch and watch TV. I don't know how you get the old, well, nah, that's, I'm just gonna play it safe in every facet of my life. Don't I don't think you can, but I think that's what people do.
Yeah, I don't even understand. I'm so bad now, Matt. People are like, oh, they start talking about the show on Netflix or the show on Hulu or show on TV. I don't even know what they're talking about. They're like,
Right.
well, you don't watch that stuff? Well, I get up at 5:30, I do some non-negotiables, client appointments, school, practice, work at night, and then maybe on the weekends I'd rather go out and actually talk face to face with people or my wife. Like,
Yeah.
why would I live in fake land? And I'm not saying I have a couple shows I watch, don't get me wrong. But why would I prioritize a show over doing something in life? I don't get it. You got one shot, like you said.
Yeah, no, me too. I think, it's safety, it's comfort. There's a one thing that always bothers me. There's a lot of things that bother me. There's one thing that's on my mind that bothers me. It's this, you hear this, on your deathbed, you're never going to wish you worked more hours or made more money or anything like that. And I don't disagree with that. That's not what I'm saying. But on your deathbed, you're not going to wish you watched another Netflix show, or or you know wasted more time not doing something. Again, doesn't mean you have to go clock in, go to work, but what are you producing? what are you giving to the world, to your family, to your community? What are you giving back? And that might be in business, it might be in your church, it might be volunteering in a million different ways, or it might be out trying to make money. I don't care. I don't care. Coaching, on and on and on and on, right? So no, I agree with it. Yeah, you're not going to be thinking that you wish you'd spent more time in the office. Well, I don't spend time in the office because someone's over my shoulder telling me to spend time in the office. I'm there trying to produce something of value that other people benefit from, that builds camaraderie, builds a team. People are willing to compensate for in some way, shape, or form, to provide value and production to the world. I'm not going, if I stay another hour, I'll make another $30 an hour, or whatever it is. People who have that viewpoint, in my opinion, they're looking at it all wrong. They're looking at it all wrong. What I think most people on their deathbed do is they regret the things they didn't do, Paul. They regret the chances they didn't take, and the things they've missed out on because of it. But there's this wonderful defense mechanism we have that we can just say, I'm not doing it because I'm not going to regret, trying to make an extra buck when, that's not what I'm about, or whatever. They're missing the point. The point isn't about making the extra buck. The point is the journey and the adventure along the way. And you don't find it on your couch.
Yeah, I say it all the time. I'm no psychologist, but it's easy to not regret in the present what you don't ever try, right? Because
Right.
you always think you have more time. You always think you have more time. That's why procrastination's okay when it comes to assignments, when it comes to a deadline, when it comes to getting some work done. But in the greater things in life that mean the most to you, regardless of whether you're producing something that has value and money attached to it, or helping your community, or coaching, there's no timeline attached to that. So if you don't do it, you don't know any better until you get to your deathbed, and now there's a timeline and you can't do it anymore. So you
Yeah.
just keep pushing. Yeah, I want to lose weight. I'm going to go on a trip. I'm going to start another job. I'm going to study for something. And you can just push it off because you can be distracted by everything else, thinking you have the time. But when you're on a deathbed, you realize you don't have the time anymore. And I think we think that way. I mean, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I go try a lot of new things because someday I won't be able to travel. Someday I won't be able to run, right? Someday uh, you're not as healthy as you are. So 2%, 5% of the population goes and does that. The rest just keeps kicking it down the road, thinking there'll be a perfect time someday. And there's not.
There's not, there never will be. It's one of the other traps, right? It's wait until my kid's this, or my promotion that, or whatever the perfect alignment is. And that won't, you know, that won't come either. And I try to put myself, it's been a lot of years since I haven't been doing my own thing, so I try to rewind myself and try to put myself back in that mindset, more of the fear. And Paul, let me tell you, I got fear too. And one of the problems in my world is, to whatever degree success I've had, there's always, you know there's there's more. I'll give you an example rather than trying to come up with an explanation that's not
I thought you
coming
were
out.
gonna mention. I thought you were gonna mention LeBron James or Tom Brady or something. But go ahead.
Like I'm in the middle of buying a bunch of assets right now. Okay, that 20 years ago I couldn't have afforded. 10 years ago I couldn't have afforded. Okay, 5 years ago I couldn't have afforded, but now I can. But even now I'm buying them, Paul, and now it's stress. It's putting a burden on me financially. So it's like, oh, I can afford it now. Well, you still kind of push your limits. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
10 years ago, I couldn't have even done it because I didn't have the money, the down payments, the worth, whatever the banks are looking for, because I take out loans on these things. Most everything is my strategy, but it means you have to come up with cash to put down and those kinds of things. And as I sit here in a position with the number of businesses I have and such, now instead of buying an investment property that was $60,000 or $80,000 or $100,000. Now it's $500,000 or $1 million or whatever it is. So now it puts more. So I'm like putting the same amounts of stress on me because I have to put more down, right? Even though I might have it now, I still have to put more down, so it puts the stress on me. So I'm not immune to any of this. I'm living it. I'm right in the heart of it right now, and frankly, I'm very uncomfortable because of it. It's putting a lot of financial pressure on me right now, which I plan for and work through and all those, but it doesn't mean I don't struggle, mentally, because I do, which everyone watching can attest to, I'm sure. But I used to have the idea, Paul, that well, so and so, look how successful they are. They don't have these concerns anymore. They don't have this, as a business person or an entrepreneur, they get to do things that I don't, and they get to do it stress free. Well, I'm here to tell you that's not the case.
I love it. I mean, I know I've known you a long time, so I know the history of what you've been through. And I always ask you, and we won't talk about it today, but you'll never retire because it's part of your adventure, your meaning, and your purpose, right? You're always going to push yourself. I mean, it'll shift at different ages.
It has to.
And
Yeah.
speaking of action, if it's okay, I want to talk about a potential intern you might have. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, definitely.
So I was just talking to him today, speaking of taking action, right?
Yes.
I believe you're going to have a student of mine be an intern of yours.
I am.
And we talk about it in class all the time. What's in it for him? Like, why would he care about doing some jobs for you that you could get anybody to do?
Yeah, yes, he is. And Monday, I think, is when we're getting together for the first time. We've had phone conversations and such. And I was super impressed with him because his attitude was the one that I really gravitate towards. And it's, I want to learn from you and your business and my wife and that kind of thing. I want to learn from you. The value is in learning from you. I can get so much more out of that than, hey, pay me $15 an hour, $20 an hour, $10 an hour, or whatever it is. And it's not that I'm not willing in those areas. Believe me, I pay lots of people. It's a recognition that the opportunity is there to network, to learn things that, frankly, if I'm paying you $20 an hour, I'm not going to teach you. You're not going to get on the inside to learn these kinds of things. If I'm paying you $20 an hour, you better be out, producing for me, right?
Right.
At least $21 an hour worth of production. Otherwise, why am I going to pay you $20 an hour, right?
You know what I told them? Kids will go pay literally hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to school and then need an internship or not be happy with the job they have afterwards. All you're giving up is your time. You're not going into debt, and you have the potential to learn from somebody that's spoke with our class. I consider you my teaching assistant, even though you're much more qualified than that. I don't mean it that way. I just mean
I'm flat.
Lead mentor should be a better term. And he's super excited. I said, we talk. I don't know why you have to go to college, if you ask me, from what you're doing right now. 2 years you could go to college or go to the local community college and use your credits. People get so mad at me when I start bringing that conversation into the mix with high school seniors. Like, what's the point right now?
Do you see that attitude changing at all over the years? What's your thought on that?
Well, the last 2 years, definitely, where more kids now, they leave my class with, between high school and my class, they almost have 36 credits at the local community college.
Right. It's a lot.
So I try to push, and back to downsides. What's the downside of going to the local community college for 1 year, working, figuring out what you want to do, then go to college more directed for only 2 years instead of maybe losing the credits and going? And they think they're going to lose out on this great college experience, but you could go at 21, 23 and still have that if it's something you want to do. But once you start that downward spiral of debt, like if the said kid, we had another conversation, if some college graduate came to you and wanted to do an internship, it's too late. They can't afford to put the time in. They've got bills to pay, they've got stuff, they might have relationships. A high school senior can right now, and they lose nothing out of it. Maybe some time, but he's not going to lose time. You know that, and I know that.
Right. No, the trade-off is immense in this situation, and whether it's me or whoever, as long as that person takes, meaning me in this situation, takes it seriously, that I have an obligation to this person, right? I have an obligation to make sure that this person gets value for their time and what they're trading in return for me. And again, when someone comes in with the mindset of, I'm here to learn, I'm not asking for anything other than an opportunity to get inside your head and inside your business to some degree and see how it works, what they're going to take out of that is worth so much more than some stupid, paycheck of $15 or $20 an hour. And the people, and I know these people, I run into them all the time, who give me well, I tell my kids, or I won't do anything unless someone pays me. You're not getting. That's fine. I know exactly how those people's lives end up 99% of the time. I mean, I'm sure there's exceptions to the rule, like anything, but I know if that's your mindset, that someone owes, like, what do you have to offer me in return? I know where that permeates through everything a person does in their lives, and it leads to poor decision making in a lot of areas, in my opinion.
Well, I'm going to leave us with this, and I'm going to blow your mind because I just thought of this while we were talking. You ready? I hope you can stay composed. Learning, right, is the ultimate way you get better. I mean, you got to learn, learning through action and experience, especially, right?
Okay.
Can you learn while you're working?
Of course.
Okay. Well, somewhere along the line, I don't know if it's the colleges, it's the mindset, it's just society, we dropped the L from learn, and everybody now wants to work to earn instead of work to learn.
Good point.
Hey, that's a pretty good one, huh?
I like that. You got to do something with that, because it's a good way to look at it. And look, there's a time when you need to work to earn. You got responsibilities, but when you have the privilege to work to learn, and you can put yourself with the right person or people, you're not going to be able to compare, what you would have earned versus what you're going to learn, especially because most of those people, they don't need you. It's an opportunity. You know what I mean? It's not like, hey, look, you bring this skill to the table that's so valuable to me that I have to pay you for it. When you're 18, 19, 20 years old, 16, 17, 15, chances are you don't have those skills yet. You don't have the ability to monetize on your skills yet. You haven't earned it yet. That day will come, and it'll come a lot faster, and you'll be worth a lot more if you've worked to learn for a period of time first. And if you can do that without taking on debt through the college system, you're twice as far ahead.
Yeah. When you work to earn, the trap is that's all you know how to do is trade your time for money, right?
True. Exactly.
Hey, man, I think we figured out what we were going to talk about.
So do I. God, we're geniuses.
Yeah, I've been called a lot of things. That's not. Hey, we should be back the next couple of weeks. We're going to be back to some guests, so I'm excited about that. I don't want to give them away.
We got a couple fun ones. Yeah, I'm excited too. Definitely.
Absolutely. Hey, till next time. See ya.
All right. Bye-bye.